Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're looking at the MLB Draftkings and Fanduel picks for today. It's been a minute since I had a DFS video out. I just didn't think there was that much interest in it. But hopefully you guys will continue to watch and show some support. I ran a poll on Twitter, and looks like you guys still want some DFS videos, so I'll mix these in every now and then. But still be showing some love to PrizePicks. I posted the video there. You can check it out if you wanted to play that entry. I have 5 picks in that one. Follow me on Twitter for sure for updates, especially if you're into like betting and stuff like that. I post a lot of picks there. About to potentially hitting a JT Poston first round leader prop. That would be huge. Posted that yesterday. One of the 5 first round props that I posted. And let's go ahead and get started with the video. As always, you can show some support by hitting the like button, subscribe, and let's get started. So looking at the totals and lineups today, the Phillies look like a decent stack. They have a 4.8 total. They're at home. They've lost the first 2 games of this series against the Braves, but now they have one of their best pitchers going at it. Wheeler and Nola have been a very solid 1-2 punch, one of the best 1-2 punches in baseball this year, especially over the past month, where both have been pretty much dialed in. Erin Nola goes deep into games. We saw him go 7-8 innings, at least 7 innings in his last 4 starts. Gives you a lot of strikeout upside, and the Braves do strike out most in baseball. So I like Nola, and I like the Phillies. Not much interest in the Braves offense. Second game, we have some powerful offenses, but the pitchers are solid enough that I'm not really that interested in stacking either side. You could potentially target these pitchers in tournaments, but they're not ones I would look at in cash games. Maybe going to look like this first baseman if you need a cheap value, but maybe you could even look to Severino. This Astros lineup is pretty weak with some of the injuries. At the bottom half of the lineup is not as strong. When you have Diaz, 5 through 9 is pretty weak. So I don't mind Severino. And then we have the Brewers against the Pirates. This one, the Brewers have been swinging pretty good bats recently. Tellez has multiple home runs in like 2 out of his last 4 games. McCutchen's batting over 300 in his last 10 with, I believe, 3 home runs. So Brewers look pretty solid, even though it's not a great ballpark to hit in. Now, you could maybe look to Hauser as a pitcher. We'll see how deep he ends up going to games, but he's only $5,400. We have the Rays and the Blue Jays in the next game. Blue Jays have just a stacked lineup top to bottom, even though some of the hitters at the bottom will strike out a bit with Chapman, but they have a lot of power now that Kirk has been one of the best hitting catchers in baseball this year. So I don't mind the Blue Jays at all. They're a decent stack, one of the best ones on the slate. And then Kikuchi's been up and down this year. Now that Wander Franco's back, not that interested in playing him at his price tag. Wouldn't mind taking shots on the Rays for tournaments because I don't think they'll be too popular. Next up, we got a Wrigley game. This is going to be the best game to target on the slate in terms of stacking perspective. Both offenses are pretty cheap. You have most of the hitters in the Cubs lineup below $4,000. Only guy above $4,000 is the catcher at $48, but great price tags on Ian Happ, on even like Gomes as the DH potentially at $2,900. The leadoff hitter's $31. He's okay. Even on the red side, I have a lot of interest in like Votto at $3,600. Farmer's only 36. He's been decent for them this year. Moustakas gives you power, also strikes out a lot. But Hendricks not much of a strikeout pitcher, so hopefully he's able to put the ball in play. And then Jonathan India, now that he's back, he looks solid. Padres against the Dodgers. Should be a good pitching matchup here. Not too interested in any of the bats in this game unless you're making a lot of teams. And then finally, we have the Mariners against the A's. Like Gilbert a lot today. He's such a good pitcher, and the A's not good on the road. Not good in general. Their lineup, after getting off to a good start this year, finally come back down to earth over the last couple of months, and they've been one of the worst hitting teams in baseball. During that stretch, the Mariners team waiting the suspension news on the guys that got suspended, but they're waiting on the appeal status. So we'll see how long that takes, but Winker's been locked in. He looks solid at 38. Going back to DraftKings, I'm going with Erin Nola as my pitcher today. He's been great for most of the season. He's occasionally had these blow-up spots, but as long as he doesn't have that blow-up inning, he's safe to go deep into games. He's done well against the Braves. Earlier this year, put up 37 fantasy points. Not much to worry about for Erin Nola. Second pitcher is definitely one that you can look to go 2 studs at the top end, putting in like a Gilbert here against the A's. One to go in the mid-range. You have, you can look to maybe like Kikuchi if you're not really that worried about the Tampa side, but he's been giving up some home runs. At least been getting some strikeouts. So he's been good with the strikeouts, but he's giving up a lot of runs and not going super deep into games. I don't have too much confidence in that one. Wanted to go with a pitcher that can work pretty deep into games. He's gone over 100 pitches in both of his last 2 starts. Goes over 96 pretty much. Not much of a strikeout pitcher, but the Pirates don't have the best offense, even though they've called up some guys. And like O'Neal Cruz been making some wonders for them. Reynolds yesterday afternoon with 3 bombs. Hopefully played him in that early slate. But I'm going with Hauser, just a decent price tag for a pitcher that will work deep into games. A 4.4 total for the Pirates, but I want to spend up a little bit on some of the bats, so definitely something that you can consider. If otherwise, I'll be looking to pay up for Gilbert alongside Erin Nola, and that's kind of it for the pitchers. He's pretty top heavy today. First guy I want to go ahead and put in at first base. Looking at the pay-ups today, you have Freddie Freeman against Musgrove, not somebody I'm looking at too much. I like Vlad. He's been coming around a bit last couple of games. Didn't have any hits yesterday, but now that they're not facing off against Boston, going up against Tampa, who still have a pretty good pitching staff, but their bullpen isn't as good as it's been last couple of years, still decent. He's in play at his price tag. You have Hoskins hit a home run yesterday, and we know whenever he does hit a home run, there's always a chance that he can hit one for the next 4 or 5 games in a row. You have some good value down here with like a Joey Votto at 36. He's actually crushed Kyle Hendricks. He's batting .395 against him, and at that price tag, he just looks very reasonable with the wind blowing out in Wrigley. Seems to be one of the better options today. Over at second base, going to be not too many great pay-ups today. Actually, I probably won't even need to get to Hauser with some of the value that I'm going to be looking at. So just give me Gilbert and Nola. Gilbert's been really good this year. Gives you strikeout upside, goes deep into games. At least 6 innings or so, gives you chances to get the win, and can go over 100 pitches. So going with Gilbert and Nola with Votto as my first baseman. The Phillies called up this guy, Hall. Could be a very sneaky play. He's $2,600. He came right into the game. He started yesterday right into the cleanup spot. He had 20 home runs in AAA already this year, so it gives you a lot of pop if you wanted to go with him. Over at second base, like I mentioned, not too many guys at the top end that look that appealing. If you're looking at the Wrigley game, Jonathan India is a guy that will stick out a bit at $4,000. Or you can consider on the Cubs side, probably has some value that you can consider, but probably stick with India if I was staying with that game. Over at third base, Brennan Drury looks really good today as well from the red side. Him, India, and Votto are my 3 favorites. Drury's been absolutely on fire the last 5 games or so, at least double-digit fantasy points all of those games. He has 16 home runs already on the season. A good spot for the ball to be flying. We know Wrigley's really conducive when the weather is blowing out, when the wind is blowing out there. Shortstop, looking at probably Willy Adams, 5K. He been a bit of a cold stretch. Batting average has dipped back down to 212, but last 10 games, he's picking up the slack a little bit. Couple home runs during that stretch, hitting 250. Other options would be looking at Bo Bichette for sure at $4,800. Wander Franco against Kikuchi with all the power issues that Kikuchi has shown. Franco came out of the gates absolutely fire, but has come back down to earth, and he's been injured for a bit. That's definitely has something to do with it. Over in the outfield, give me Kyle Schwarber. He's having an absolutely unreal month of June, and no better way to close it out than with a couple of bangs tonight, maybe a home run or 2. He has 4 home runs in his last 10. It seems like whatever he does is hit home runs. He has 59 hits on the season, and out of those 59 hits, 34 of them have been extra base hits. So continuing to smash the ball, his slugging percentage over 500, even though his batting average is all the way down to 217. Doesn't happen too often. Definitely love Kyle Schwarber. And then on the Cubs side, I'm going Ian Happ. $3,800 to get to another pretty nice play in the game with how good he's been for them this year. He's like one of the leaders in WAR for the outfield, just with some of the hitting that he does give you, but especially with his defense, he's done a great job of just getting to balls and saving some runs for the Cubs this year. And against a pitcher that doesn't strike people out, both pitchers in this game sub 16% K rates. With the wind blowing out, it should be pretty explosive fireworks. Early 4th of July gift stacking up that game. So that's what I got for you guys today on DraftKings. Nola, Gilbert, Votto, Drury, Schwarber, Ian Happ are my favorite 6. Let's go ahead and look at FanDuel. All right, over on FanDuel, they don't have the 6 o'clock games on the main slate, so it's a small slate on FanDuel. Looking at 5 games today. So I'm going Gilbert as my favorite pitcher. You can make a case for Musgrove, but he did get kind of disappointed in his last start against the Phillies. He was coming off the COVID list, so maybe was 100%, but the Dodgers still have a scarier, much scarier offense compared to the Oakland A's. Not even in the same ballpark. No pun intended there. That's the only option that I'm looking at. Nobody else is going to be that interesting for me personally. And then I really like the Cincinnati game. Now that we don't have the Phillies to look at, that's going to be the game where I'm looking to get most, if not all, of my batters from. First guy up at first base could be Rowdy Tellez. Didn't mention him on DraftKings, but he's also been hitting a lot of home runs recently. He looks solid. Look at the price tag on Joey Votto here. He's only $2,600. You can definitely lock him in into your first base or into your utility spot. Second base, you have Jonathan India or Brennan Drury to pick from. I like India a little bit cheaper. Maybe third base, we can look to get to Brennan Drury at 34. Not too many great options here. You have Suarez, decent, but otherwise, not too many great options besides like Wisdom. We don't have great studs on the pricing board today with the not ton of great offenses in action. Over at shortstop, we have Trey Turner. Not looking to play him against Musgrove. Favorite guy would probably be Bo Bichette at 33. Maybe Wander Franco or Kyle Farmer can get you some interest there. I'll skip that for now. In the outfield, Julio Rodriguez. He's been great for the Mariners, giving them a huge spark. I'm going to go ahead and put him in. He'll kind of take over the Kyle Schwarber spot that I used on DraftKings. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in Ian Happ. At only $3,000, nice cheap price tag for him. Still easy with about $3,000 left in. Looking over if you can look at Fantasy Labs if you wanted to get a clear view of the pricing. But just looking at the Cubs game specifically, so many great price tags up and down the board for the Cubs side. Same thing can be said for the Red side. That's the best game for me to target today. Not going to overthink it too much. So that game, and then the Blue Jays look solid on FanDuel. And then on DraftKings, it's the Blue Jays, Phillies, and then the Cubs and Reds to really get your bats from. But that's all for me today. Thank you for watching. Best of luck, and I will see you all next time.